The Department of Public Health and Human Services is pleased to bring you Aging Horizons. Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, fraud, legal issues, veterans benefits, and caregiving. Aging Horizons is a program dedicated to inform and prepare Montanans on these timely issues, making a difference to you and your loved ones. Here now is today's program host.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Aging Horizons. We have two special guests with us today, and we will be talking about scammers and frauds and how to prevent all those things. So what we want you to do is go get your coffee, stay tuned, and we will be right back.
Did you just text me?
I didn't want to disturb you if you were sleeping.
Sleeping? I'm sitting right next to you, silly.
There you are. Hey, I found a couple of Medicare helping programs online that I think we ought to look into.
It says if we qualify, we can get help paying for our prescription drugs. Oh, and there's a program that can help pay our Part B premium.
To learn more about extra help and Medicare savings programs, call your local SHIP counselor today.
Maybe I better text him.
Someone who said they were from Medicare called and asked for my personal information.
I noticed a charge on my Medicare statement for a test I don't remember having.
I got a letter offering me free medical equipment if I gave them my Medicare number.
Something didn't seem right.
It seemed too good to be true.
If something seems odd, it's probably fraud. Call Senior Medicare Patrol at 800-551-3191 to report fraud. This project is supported by a grant by the Administration for Community Living.
Here in Montana, we love our outdoor activities. Unfortunately, few of them are risk-free. Indeed, Montana is second in the nation per capita in head injuries that can destroy the lives of people we love. That's why you should insist your family always wear protective helmets. But you can do even more. When you fill out your vehicle registration this year, circle the Y and donate $1 to support traumatic brain injury prevention and education. Now that's using the old noggin.
Today, class, we'll be discussing the term ombudsman, a word we borrowed from the Swedes and never gave back. Say you're a resident or you have a loved one in long-term care. Now, what do you do if you're not happy with the care and services you receive? You call your long-term care ombudsman, of course. Your ombudsman is available to support you and your rights. An advocate on your behalf could be the ticket. This is your home. If you have questions, the numbers right there below me have all the answers. Class dismissed.
Welcome to another edition of Aging Horizons. This is a program brought to you by the Montana Department of Public Health and Human Services, Senior and Long-Term Care Division. I'm your host, Wilmot Collins. Today we have two special guests with us. We have Marcus Meyer. He is the Community Engagement Director for AARP Montana. And we have Mike Fenney, who is recently retired after 39 years with the Department of Justice. He retired as Assistant Attorney General. Welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's good to be here.
Thanks for honoring us. So, Marcus, let's jump straight into it. Tell us, why is AARP involved in fraud and scams and all of that?
Yeah, so AARP has always been involved with financial security for older Americans, the 50 plus. And our founder, Dr. Andrus, founded AARP over 60 years ago. And when she founded AARP, she was a retired principal in California, and she found one of her former teachers living in a chicken coop. So the teacher had fallen on financial hard times, and so she wanted to do what she could to make that better. So she formed AARP to provide financial security and health security for retired Americans. And around 10 years ago, AARP formally formed the Fraud Watch Network to fight fraud and to provide information for people that have fallen victim to scams and to protect them from falling victim to scams as well. And so that helps with that financial security for older Americans.
So, but how big a problem is fraud right now, nationally and here in Montana?
We see that fraud is growing every single year. And from numbers from 2024, the FTC, they estimated that $196 billion was lost to fraud. And here in Montana specifically, 22.3 million was lost to fraud, with over 6,600 complaints filed for that. But more importantly than just the numbers is we see that older Americans are targeted for fraud and lose more money than most, and that can really affect the way that they live the rest of their lives, who they trust, things like that.
You bet. You bet. Yeah. So why is this such a problem? Why is fraud such a problem? Mike, you want to jump in?
Well, sure. Fraud has always existed, but now with the advent of the internet and phone communication and any of the other ways that people can impose themselves in our lives, it's become more rampant and easier. And it's not just Montana, it's international. So we have the world at our doorstep trying to figure out ways to get in our pocketbooks. And it's not Montana, it's nationwide, and it's not just the United States, it's worldwide. In fact, that's why I'm wearing this purple shirt, is because this is World Elder Abuse Awareness Month. June 15th coming up, and the whole world is focused on tackling the problem, not just us here in Montana.
So I know COVID played a role in all of this too. So you want to just address some of that? How did COVID play its part?
It really brought to light how big of a problem isolation can be, and really that we need to focus on that as far as not just for the aging population, but all Americans and worldwide, that we need to be able to check in on people and make sure that we know what's going on. In addition to that, the scammers use the isolation to make sure that when they're communicating with them, they don't want you to talk to family members or friends, and create that concept of where it's a one-on-one relationship. The isolation also can happen when it's a great target for scammers, because then someone might be lonely, they're just looking for someone to contact. So like Mike said, with the access to that with your cell phone, through social media apps, emails, text messages, it's a great avenue for a scammer to communicate with people.
You bet. So I know we have banking institutions now. Some of us have never been into a bank, as a matter of fact, because we use our phones. I don't think I've seen inside a bank for years. So have modern banking contributed to this also?
Aspects of modern banking have made it easier for scammers because transferring money is easier than it's ever been. I grew up with cash and checks, as did most people, but these days, I don't know that a 20-year-old has a bill in their wallet. Everything's electronic, and that's real advantageous to scammers because they can clean out an account without even ever being in our continent.
Yeah. So what are some examples of some of those imposters scams and how they work?
Oh, so many types of imposter scams. Everything we do can be corrupted in one fashion or another. Our regular day-to-day activities, like paying our bills, and all of us have the same exposures. Paying your utility bill, somebody's going to attack that. Regular banking, somebody's going to come forward and say, there's a suspicious transaction on your account. Well, that's not your bank, that's the fraudster. And it's those methods that they work their way into your life.
So we have so much more. We'll have to go to a commercial break, but stay tuned. Stay tuned. We will be right back. We have so much more information for you with Mike Finney and Marcus Meyer. We'll be right back.
With as many as 1 in 10 Americans at risk for Alzheimer's or some other form of dementia, chances are someone you know and love will receive that diagnosis. When that happens, You may well feel devastated, but know that you are not alone. Help is available. You don't have to face dementia by yourself. Call the free 24/7 Alzheimer's Association helpline, 800-272-3900, for guidance and support.
Out here, we love our animals, from the wildlife to the livestock. Inside, it's the same. They're just like family. We keep them happy and healthy, most of the time. Secondhand smoke puts pets at risk for cancer, feline lymphoma, vomiting, increases the risk of tumors and lung cancer, even causes eye and skin disease. Secondhand smoke puts your pet's life at risk.
Hey, caregivers, did you know that respite time is your time? How will you spend it?
Respite is really perfect for things I like to do, but my son isn't interested in.
Vicki Henry, Manhattan.
Gardening isn't one of his favorite things, and he knows and likes his caregivers a lot, so it's a win-win. Or even something as simple as a bike ride becomes possible when I know that someone I trust is with him.
Montana Lifespan Respite. Respite for caregivers. It's okay to need it. It's okay to want it. It's okay to get it.
It's good for both of us.
I was diagnosed with diabetes in 1992 and I went into denial. It made me angry. I was a professional chef and I didn't want to change my eating style. It took me a long time to get serious about managing my health. My perspective changed from resentment to one of loving my body, the container for my spirit. Getting help from my diabetes educator supported my goals of improved self-care. I want to feel good and have a great life. My diabetes educator helps me do this.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Aging Horizons. I'm your host, Wilmot Collins. Before the break, we were talking to Mike Fenney, and Mike was talking about imposter schemes and how they work. So, Mike, would you please continue?
Sure. In the introduction, you mentioned that I'd been a lawyer for 39 years, and the last 3 of those were as the Montana Assistant Attorney General who prosecutes elder crimes. And what we saw prevalent in Montana were imposter crimes that focused on romance scams, that focused on utility scams, that focused on government impersonators, and they all had some common theme. A person who appears in your life, claims to be someone who they are not, and then through some urgency or threat or perceived problem demands money. Ultimately, it always is money. Mm-hmm. So it could be the utility saying, you haven't paid your bill, and we're going to shut you off unless you pay immediately. It could be the clerk of court, allegedly, saying you haven't paid your fines or you missed jury duty. Mm-hmm. Those are all imposter scams, and they work off the same principle. Somebody who seems to be a person in authority, someone to be a person who has some measure of control over you, and who makes a demand that requires immediate payment.
You bet.
And then typically they have a sense of urgency always.
All the time. You have to pay it now. You have to do this now. So AI has become a huge influence in our lives. So how has AI contributed to this?
Well, AI has always been around in some sense, and my experience with it here in Montana has been it's kind of clumsy, but that is changing over time. Mm-hmm. AI is getting more sophisticated, more difficult to observe. So, for example, in the grandparent scam, where an individual claims to be a grandchild who's in some sort of serious criminal trouble, mm-hmm.
then
it really appears to be the voice of their grandchild.
Right.
Or in a romance scam, it really appears to be a human being, whereas before you could say that's a little bit awkward. Well, I don't believe that that's a human.
Yeah, and with text messages too, as far as you don't see as many of the grammatical errors or the misspellings because they're able to use some of those AI generators to make that happen. So
you see, so that as positive as AI, there's that negative aspect, because now AI will correct the grammar, AI will correct the misspelling, so it's become more sophisticated and harder to track.
It has, but with these scams with AI, they may look a little bit different, but they still have the same common traits to those scams. So it's that sense of urgency. You're being contacted out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
They're asking for your personal information.
Right.
The payment method usually isn't the same. So it's, if you get a call from somebody, or if you owe a business money, they're typically, a legitimate business isn't going to ask you to pay in gold bars or gift certificates or through a cryptocurrency. So even with the new technology, if people can still remember, take a step back and think about what scams have, what they have in common for common traits, you can oftentimes detect that. But reality is it's always best to make those contacts with a trusted source. So either through that law enforcement or somebody you trust, or a trusted government agency.
You bet. So are there scams that appear seasonally or associated with special events?
Definitely. Right now we're coming up with summer happening. We see the contractor scams a lot of times, or the roofer or drive-by paver scams that happen this time of year. And so we just want people to be aware that is happening. And if you do need a new roof, or you're looking to have some paving done, or a construction project, that you look into the company that you're hiring. Not all companies that come knock on your door are necessarily scams, but really you need to do your due diligence before you hire somebody for this.
And then further to that, there's always going to be those scoundrels who play off of people's sympathies after a natural disaster, or some well-publicized tragic event, claiming to be a charity that they are not, claiming to be promoting a project that they're not. And that's not to discourage people from being charitable, but it is to encourage people to be aware and check into any perceived charity before they make a big donation.
Like what you're saying, it's our money, so we need to take that extra step to do our due diligence. If I want to donate to this charity, I should be able to go find a website, talk to someone, see if they're real or not.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And it pains us all to have to think that something like flood relief in Louisiana should have to take that level of scrutiny. But in these days, to protect ourselves, we have to do that.
We have to take that extra step. So our next thing is we'll be talking about prevention and the response and how to address that. So let's see here. How can people shortly, in 5 seconds before we go to our break, or maybe I will just wait and go to our break. So stay tuned. We will be right back. We have so much more information with Mike and Marcus. So we'll be right back discussing prevention, how we can prevent some of these scams from happening. Stay tuned.
A message from FireSafe Montana. While a prescribed fire can put smoke in the air for several days, a wildfire can rage for weeks or more. Restoring fire to an ecosystem can be essential to maintaining desired range and forest habitat. Proper use of fire can minimize both short and long-term fire risk to nearby populations and property. For more information, contact FireSafe Montana today. This message brought to you in part by Northwestern Energy and aired by the Montana Broadcasters Association.
You've probably seen some big-name celebrities on your TV lately talking about all the Medicare benefits you're missing out on. But the insurance companies who are paying for these ads may be pushing benefits not available in Montana. Fortunately, help is available from a friendly state health insurance assistance program counselor who can help you sort it all out. It's free, and we screen everyone for eligibility regardless of your zip code. It's Montanans helping Montanans. Call today.
Montana's veterans answered the call. Now our veteran service officers are here to answer theirs. Whether it's filing a claim, accessing healthcare, or navigating earned benefits, you're not alone. Our VSOs provide expert guidance at absolutely no cost to you. You served our nation. Let us serve you. Visit your local VSO today. Call 406-324-3742 or visit veterans.mt.gov. Montana serving veterans.
Hey, caregivers, did you know that respite time is your time? How will you spend it?
When the weather's good, I gotta get away for some fishing, and that's a must.
Fred Dahlbeck. Clancy.
My grandson tells me we suck at golf. Fun though. And there's never enough time to keep the old 57 Chevy happy.
Montana Lifespan Respite. Respite for caregivers. It's okay to need it. It's okay to want it. It's okay to get it.
Come on, girl.
Welcome back to Aging Horizons, and we've been talking to Mike Fanny and Marcus Meyer. And Mike, tell us, how can we prevent some of this from happening?
Great question. The first thing is everybody's got to be aware that those attacks are out there, they're prevalent. So the first thing is educate yourself, listen to programs like this, pay attention to AARP's website, and you'll know the sorts of things that you should be aware of. But the hallmarks that they all have are an unexpected, unsolicited contact. Where did this come from out of the blue?
Right.
Then there's going to be a sense of urgency that this must be done or there's a serious threat. It's criminal prosecution, it's shutting off your power, it's a bad credit report because of an unauthorized charge, something of that sort. So unexpected and urgency, and then they're going to demand payment immediately.
Right.
They're going to insist that you not have time to contact trusted friends, counsel, law enforcement. It must be done right away, and then it must be done in a form that you're not familiar with. I've seen in my experience people being instructed to put bills inside of a magazine and send it to an address in New York. We don't do that. But generally it's going to be something like credit cards, gift cards, or gold, or some other atypical form of payment.
Yeah, yeah.
So be aware and watch for those hallmarks of fraud. And then AARP has
we have a sheet for just stop and drop, and it's on our website at the AARP state site and for Montana, and you can access all of that information under the fraud tab. And it's a sheet front and back that just has quick information about how to protect your personal information and then just what to do with a scam. And it's really simple. It's stop and drop, and we say stop and think, could this be a scam? Could this be related to a scam? And then if it is, drop the communication and make those contacts with the trusted officials. So it could be a family member or an agency that you need to report to. And so that sheet has lots of information. It works well to be placed on your fridge or next to your phone or next to your computer, so you can have that available when you're dealing with scammers.
So it's crazy how they try to corner us, right? Because if I have some reservations as to if this is real or not, I can tell them, say, hey, let me call my daughter and ask her about this, and I'm almost certain they will say, no, let's deal with it right now. And that should be a sign to you to
count on it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, if they don't want me to call my daughter or my son or my relative, that means this is not real. And drop, where you just hang up, drop the phone, drop the communications and all of that, right?
Yeah, and a legitimate business or a government agency or an organization is not going to have a problem with you saying, I need to call you back. I want to talk about this with a family member or a friend, and let me call you back at a number that I trust. And legitimate businesses won't have an issue with that.
Exactly.
They never will. And you cannot trust the number that appears on your phone because it is spoofed, more likely than not. And so it may appear like it's coming from county law enforcement, or it may appear to be coming from the clerk of court. Stop, drop, independently pick up that number on your own and call and say, do I have unpaid traffic tickets? Am I delinquent on my utility bill?
Yeah. Yeah. So how can people report scams if they or their loved one have been victimized by these things?
There are many ways to report, and I often tell people start with Adult Protective Services. If they've already been victimized, Adult Protective Services will do an investigation and they can help report it to appropriate law enforcement. If there's an emergency, then by all means 911 and local law enforcement. But in the typical instance, you can report to the Attorney General's office, either the Elder Justice Unit or the Consumer Protection Unit. You can report to federal law enforcement, the U.S. Attorney's Office, the FBI. The FBI has a complaint center called the IC3, Internet Crime Complaint Center.
Okay.
All of those are places to get information. And there's a lot of resources, and I think what that tells us is there's a big problem.
Yes, definitely. So, but I'm sure AARP has their own sites.
We do, and what all the numbers that Mike was mentioning, we have a resource sheet on our website at this AARP state site under the fraud tab. You can access that sheet that has how you can report locally, at the state level, and at the federal level. Additionally, there's information on keeping your personal information safe, and then you can also sign up for the Fraud Watch Network with AARP, and that gives fraud alerts every 2 weeks. There's a newsletter that talks about trending scams, and you can also report fraudulent calls or just calls that you have questions about for scams, and they report all of that information there.
Wow.
And I would like to add one thing.
Yes.
Even if it appears as though the money's gone and it's unrecoverable, people should report, because unless they report, governments never know the magnitude of the problem, and they're never going to assign the resources that's necessary to respond. So even if you're frustrated, even if you're embarrassed, even if you think it's futile, report, and hopefully our society then will start directing its energy to this problem that we are so committed to.
Thank you so much. Hey, thanks, Mike, and thanks, Marcus.
Thank you.
We've been talking to Mike Fanny and Marcus Meyer about scams and frauds, and it's bigger than we think. So please, please, if you have any concerns, stop the conversation, drop the phone, and talk to someone, a trusted friend, a trusted relative. This has been Aging Horizons, and I've been your host, Wilmot Collins. We're signing off.
Special thanks to the Department of Public Health and Human Services for their continued support. Hosts on Aging Horizons are program specialists at the Montana Office on Aging. Production facilities provided by Video Express Productions. For more information about Aging Horizons, call the Department of Public Health and Human Services toll-free at 800-332-2272.